Good evening to everybody and welcome to the Hudson George Show. Happy new month, 1st of November. Happy birthday to quite a few people across the world. So happy birthday to you if your birthday's on the 1st of November. Hudson, how are we doing?
Well, I'm good again as usual, taking it easy,
So what's it like over there in Canada?
Well, we're still struggling with the good weather and the bad weather. Presently, today is not too bad. Yeah. Yesterday was not too bad.
Yeah.
The weather goes up and down,
I'm sure
but eventually it's gonna go.
I'm sure you prefer to be in Grenada, right?
Well, tonight in Grenada will be All Saints night,
Yes.
And they light up the cemetery and so,
So what do they do on All Saints night? Tell me.
Well, All Saints night is the night when you light candle for those who die, your grandparents, whatever, family. Whatever member of your family that died, you light candle for them.
Where did that originate from, All Saints?
I want to think that come with the Catholic and the Anglican religion to Grenada. Because in Anglican, they have All Saints night and All Souls night.
Yes. Yes.
And I think Catholic, there is a slight difference. But they are All Saints, All Souls.
It's all the same thing. Okay. Yeah. So tonight's conversation leads off from last week's conversation. We ended conversation. And we're talking about Grenadians at home and Diaspora Grenadians, conflict based on perceptions. Wow, what a topic. Let's get you in big for this one. So, fire away.
Yeah. Well, perceptions based on how Grenadian back home and those abroad or in the diaspora, it creates a conflict where both groups see each other differently, and the Grenadians back home, they tend to show it more. If you go home to Grenada as a diaspora Grenadian, we say returning, they think you have more purchasing power. Like you might be able to buy more property than them. That's one thing, because if you're coming from North America, your money is bigger than an EC dollar. So they think you might be able to buy more lands, you might build a bigger home. And so it creates conflict. And then also, if you come home and you're very educated, based on what a lot of diasporas said, when they go home, if they try to get job in government service, the workers in the department and the civil servants, they tend to see them as a threat sometimes, And also, this kind of perception trickle down a little bit more in terms of, for instance, in love relationships too, because the diaspora Grenadian might come home and maybe perhaps women might be more attracted to them too. It's a cultural things. I see a lot of cases where a lot of men came from most likely England, or it's a Great Britain, and they come back home and they hook up with the old time sweetheart, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And all those things, the Grenadian back home see it like a threat too, So there is a conflict. But also, the Grenadians who went to England and they come back home, what I observe too, some of them, the men, they come like in the late 60s, sometimes they're 70 years already. And they come back home and then they pick up a younger woman than them. They might pick up a woman 35 sometime and a woman in the 40s. And they start having children again. And we used to say, what happened with these old guys and them? Why they come back home having a young woman? And this is where the conflict comes, because the Grenadian back home in his 30s and 40s, he see that this elderly return, get a woman perhaps he was looking at. But he has more money, he has more purchasing power. We call them the Englishmen. They come back home, they could build a nice home, they could take care of the woman better. And so, but when we look at it, what caused that as I travel now, and based on my studies, I come to realize that some of these older men are running away from the nursing home in England. After we come to realize they are running, they're running away from the nursing home in England. Because in England, the British culture is that the children wouldn't look after them when they get old. They might end up in a nursing home. I hope you're listening, yeah. I'm telling you what to do when you get older. So these men,
I'm listening.
They come back to Grenada.
Well, hold on, wait. No disrespect, but you're a little bit more mature than myself.
Yeah, I'm older than you.
But you're not in Grenada.
Yeah, what happened with the Canadians and the American too. So what happened is that now, but I observe it with the English returnees first.
Right, okay.
Because the migration on England started in the 50s. So right. these men start coming back. So when they come back, they might come with their wife. And the wife might spend a little time, and then the wife says she want to go and see the grandchildren in England. And the men love that when the wife died. And some of them, perhaps, the wife died. So when they come back home, they love the British-born children, but they're scared of the nursing home. So what they do, they get a younger woman. They might tell the children this young woman is a servant. Sometimes they say that. Oh, she just works with me, you know. She helps me. And then they start making children with this woman, because what is going to happen now, when they start to get weaker now and they can't help themselves again, that young woman is going to take care of them. They wouldn't have in nursing home. And they might die and leave a son or a daughter 18, 20 years old, that born in Grenada. You can do a research on it. You know, this is what the sociologists are not writing. So there's lots of that in Grenada. And not only Grenada, the other Caribbean islands. So the British.
I want to go back at this. What business is it if I can come home and I can buy myself a house, or I can come home and I can get myself a girl and get myself a wife, or, you know, these women are still in Grenada, regardless if we're there or not. If I were to come back to Grenada and find myself a woman, what business is that to anybody else? I don't understand the mentality. I don't understand the mentality.
Well, it's a type of a grudge, because you coming from England, one British pound is almost $5 to one Grenadian.
Yeah.
One Grenadian is a pound is like $4.80.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you come home, you build a nice home.
Yeah.
In Grenadian culture, if you don't want a lot of land, but if you have 4 acres of land, that's a lot of land. You have enough food to eat from that land. You could even sell some of the stuff, and you come like in a British pension.
So wait.
So then you have this younger wife now. You make her comfortable. She wouldn't go, you know. So there's a guy 35, 40 years. You say that old England guy come and take my thing. I was eyeing that thing there.
My answer to him would be, or to her would be, you didn't handle your business. I mean, you didn't handle your business, so somebody else has to come and handle your business for you. That's it. Simple.
Yeah. So this is one of the conflict of perceptions. And also, now the North American returnees come home differently from the British.
Okay.
The British returnees are less cocky. They're more simple. Because you see, the British returnees, or the diaspora Grenadian from England or Britain, they come home, they work hard, and they come home with money. So they keep the same friends what they knew before. They visit their relatives, cousins.
Good afternoon, Denise.
They visit family, you know, and they're more simple. But those coming from North America tend to be more cocky because they're coming home with university degrees, and so they tend to be more, some of them tend to be more politically inclined, and then they might be more selective with their relatives than the British. The British returnees are more cultured into staying into the family circle. And then going home to Grenada too, if you have a sibling in Grenada who you are a diaspora Grenadian going home, if you have siblings who achieve wealth or good status job-wise, and so if you doesn't have that status, sometimes they throw words at you too. I'm telling you, I know. They will say things like, I didn't go to foreign countries like others, but I stay home and I make it. And when they're tipsy, they have a few drinks, they might even tell you they did better than you. So I'm telling you, I know about the Grenadian society. Some of them, again, those who school, then you have a next set of British, diaspora British Grenadian. These are them who went in England in the middle 60s and 70s. They went away and they studied. Some of them are professional nurses, and so, you know, some come back lawyers, and so. They tend to believe that the British degree is better than those returning from England and from America and Canada. One day I heard one lady said that. She said that British education is better. Yeah.
That's not the case anymore, though. It's the British education system across the world. I think we were ranked about 13th or 14th in the world in terms of the educational system today.
It might be overall, but then you have to look at, you have things like in England, you have Cambridge, you have Oxford. Help me.
You've got kids, you've got children at the age of 10 or 12 that can speak 5 different languages.
In England?
Languages. No, across Europe, 5 different languages, and speak English, have a good command of English as well. 5 different languages.
Yeah, I believe you, but it's a perception in Caribbean that if you went to school in England, like
England
because
I used to be told that England was the golden walk or the golden way, golden brick. All the bricks of England were made of gold.
Yeah, plus they're looking at England is the motherland of the English society, English culture, English language. So if you're schooling Oxford, Cambridge, you say you're Oxford scholar or Cambridge scholar or whatever, those names, you know. So that's the next thing again too, because
hold on. Let me stop you right there. For a person who's not from the Caribbean, that's born in the UK or born in America, born in the UK, not so much America. When they're born in the UK, they're not considered. When you say somebody's British, do you know what that means? It was a racist thing that Margaret Thatcher put, because British meant that your grandparents, your descendants were not from England. Means they were alien to England, which would mean you're not English, you're British. Means that your family were non-Caucasian or non-white. That's what British meant.
That's what British meant.
That's what that's why I had the British passport. Because remember the time when Margaret Thatcher was trying to kick all the Caribbean people and send them home? You remember that time?
Yeah, yes.
Right.
But
And the British passport came up. The British passport, the poll tax, around that time. This thing about the British being British, right? So
yeah.
you can't say, I can't say I'm English because I'm not. I'm British.
No.
Because of my grandparents.
You wouldn't get the status as an Englishman because
check this. So I don't get this as an Englishman, right?
But you are British.
So when I come to Grenada now, they say, well, you're not Grenadian or you're not Caribbean, you're an Englishman. When I'm in England, I'm not an Englishman.
You are British. I'm
British, right? But technically, the person that comes from this country, England, has really no identity unless they've got self-identity. And they don't say, well, I'm not British, I'm not Caribbean, I'm just me. You understand?
Yeah, but you see, the next thing is that Britain or British is an empire.
Yes.
So it goes back to the English conquered the Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, and all the overseas territory. Okay. So they make Great Britain. So to be qualified like an Englishman, you got to be English. It's just like, I hope no Rastafari don't listen to our program and they get mad with me. Because Britain and Ethiopia is the same system, same setting. Ethiopia is an empire where the Amhara people conquer other groups of people in that land called Ethiopia.
Okay.
But the Amhara is not even the biggest group in Ethiopia. The biggest group in Ethiopia is the Oromo people.
Okay.
So, but what the Amhara did, which is the Selassie tribe, they make Amhara more like an official language. Whereas the Omoro people are the biggest, are the majority. Until there's a shift these days where the Amhara doesn't have power again. So when you're creating an empire, whether it's the British Empire or the one in Ethiopia, because Ethiopia, I think they say 86, either 83 or 86 different groups of people. Different groups.
Yeah.
Whereas in England you have Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, and England. But to be an Englishman, you got to be English. You have to be the conquering one.
Well, I'm not an Englishman. So that's the problem. See, I'm not an Englishman. So I go to Grenada. I say, you're an Englishman. Well, I'm not an Englishman. You need to go back to England because you're an Englishman. Well, I'm not an Englishman.
Well, again, it's perception. Other perception too about Grenadian back home with diasporas. They think diasporas are too open-minded.
Okay.
Like, for example, I live in Canada for many years.
Right.
So my reasoning is different from Grenadians at home.
Right.
Even when you're holding discussion with Grenadians back home, those who are educated, and they don't hold discussion, they are not open. When you're holding a discussion with them, they do it like you're in a high school. They want to discuss like a guideline. So the mindset is not open, and that openness in the mindset.
Give me a description of this classroom setting sort of conversation.
For instance, let us say we have to discuss something happening in Grenada.
Yeah.
Or a political situation.
Okay.
That go on in Grenada for 4, 5, 6 years, or even let's say 10 years. Those who love who like what went on in the 10 years. If they want to discuss with you, they will tell you they don't want you to discuss about the bad part of it. They only want you to discuss with them the good things about it. And if you had to remain, how much other good things we will get from it. And when you try to present the bad side of it for them, they will get mad with you and tell you, oh, this is not what I wanted to hear. But those of us who live in the diaspora, our mindset is not that way. We tend to be open, more open in reasoning. We're more open in relationships too. With women, perhaps we're not that dominant, you know, and then what I observe with diaspora, Grenadian back home, the men, when a Grenadian man get educated, he thinks that all, and he thinks he know it all. He's educated, so what he does, he spends his leisure time drinking, pass more drinking. He don't enhance himself with what he has because he thinks he knows already. This is why you find if you look at it, a lot of school teachers in Grenada, most of them end up drinking.
Why?
Because after they finish teaching school, perhaps they go to the rum shop. But in North America or in England or in Britain, North America, a man or a woman might be a school teacher, but after school they say, I'm going back to the college or the university to take some other programs.
You're encouraged to.
All right. So our perception, how they look at life in the Caribbean, in Grenada, and in the foreign is the same. And Grenadians are more secretive than to me, it's a kind of they sort of says imposter. Like they show you what they're not. I don't know if it's colonialism or cause it. And then societies like that tend to create petty jealousness. Petty jealousness. Now, and once you start creating the petty jealousness, and this is what our democracy, it looks more like a dictatorship. You get it?
Mm.
It ends up more like a dictatorship, because once people develop that concept that you're not open to reasoning, you will accept a political culture that look more like a dictatorship. For instance, 2 weeks ago, or a week and something ago, police shot a young man who they say had a spliff of marijuana in his mouth.
Yes, we're covering that tomorrow on Grenada Matters. Yes.
And they ran behind the man and they shot him, the young man.
And then
based on the information, that young man and other members of his family represent Grenada in swimming. And if you check the OECS record on swimming, Grenada is the #1 swimming team in the OECS, from Antigua to Grenada. The police shot that young man. So the young man now, his father gone bazoo and decide to revenge, and he launched an attack at some police officers, and he was shot dead. But the question is, we don't know if that young man, parents, the father and the mother and the brothers and the sister, were visited by a social worker after the police shot him. Did anybody counsel the father? He was on TV last week. He didn't get no help. So perceptions again. perhaps to people those of us who live abroad, how we look at, but you're going to ask, where was the social worker? Where was the counselor to visit that family after that incident? Did any parliamentarian visit? You see? So this is Grenada society. And the perceptions continue with how they see you in the diaspora
where does that negative mentality come from? Like, to look at your fellow brother and sister, but you accept, and it's okay for a foreigner to come in that don't look like yourself to come in and do what the hell they want on the island. They can buy up land, they can do this, they can do that, it's fine. But when somebody who looks like yourself come back to the island to do well and to give, or to do well for themselves, it's a problem. Is that not a situation where Grenadians hate themselves and hate anybody that looks like them?
Yeah, I think it's self-hate. Self-hate. It is not only, and it's not only a Grenadian thing. It's a Caribbean island thing. Yes. That they self-hate, because I was listening to a other program like yours this morning.
Yes.
And a guy who left, a lawyer guy, black guy, he was part of the Ralph Gonsalves party, and he was the Speaker of the House. And there was a lot of things over the years saying that Ralph Gonsalves is trying to groom his son to be the next Prime Minister. And that particular man, he saw that particular man perhaps as a threat. Perhaps might have ambition to get leadership. So anyway, that man left the party, and that man was on a program like yours, a Grenada program, but they were talking about St. Vincent election. And he talked about that. He said in St. Vincent, most likely why Ralph Gonsalves won 4 elections so far. He said the people in St. Vincent, the mindset is the mindset. They rather to vote for somebody who look more Caucasian. And he was saying perhaps the opposition party might stand a better chance this time, because the new leader of the opposition look more, not so much, he looked mixed, so perhaps he might be able to get a couple votes. So you see, Caribbean society is funny, perception. And next thing again too, if you go home to Grenada, people expect you to give them money.
Yeah. You bring anything for me? You bring anything for me?
I remember once I went to Grenada and there was election time.
Yeah.
And I went to Riverside in a political rally, just go, see what's going on. And one guy I know from long term, we grew up around the same time. He asked me for a drink. I gave him drink. No, I gave him drink 2 weeks before. Sorry. The 2 weeks before we met and we drink.
Yeah.
And then I met him in that rally and he asked me for drink again. And I didn't really give him any. You know what he said to me? He said, your money done. You don't have money again. What's the mountain? He expect I should give him drinks again. So if I didn't give him no more drinks, his belief is when my money is finished, I'm visiting and I don't have no money again. So when I see that is how he think, I say, why you think my money done? He say, well, you're supposed to give me a drink. So I didn't want him to go with the belief, oh, I come to Grenada and my money down. I say, all right, come, and I give him a drink again. You see the perception? You're supposed to give them a drink.
But if you don't give, if you don't help, if you don't give, you're considered stuck up, right? And if you give, they take advantage of.
If you give, if you overgive, they take advantage of you.
Yeah.
If you don't give, and they might, if they are not sure if you're wealthy, they might say your money finished. But if they know that you have money, they say you're cheap. You're cheap. You don't want to spend. You're a cheap person. So this is the perceptions of diaspora and those back home. And then if you try to dialogue with them to tell them, well, this must change and that must change, they tell you come out in big country. We're different. So it's the mindset. But what they're not looking at in Grenada, instead of looking at us in the diaspora coming in, they are going through culture shock right now in Grenada. I don't know if most of them are aware of so many strange things happening. Because when I was a little boy in Grenada, policemen used to walk with guns. I'm talking about I'll go back as far as 1970 to 74. Policemen didn't used to have guns. And then we went through the era with Gary. There was a little bit of shooting and so. Then when the revolution came, there was more shooting. Then after that period, the shooting kind of go down again. You had one or two with the police, but now it's up again. So these are culture shock for those people. And they could repair all those things. They're not like black minority in England or in Britain or North America or Canada. They are majority people. Next question.
Almost much the next question. So how do we break down the barriers between the diaspora coming home? Because a lot of people from diaspora, like myself, wanted to come home and to give. But when we came back to give, we wasn't accepted because we were from outside. But yet people from outside, from other countries that don't look like ourselves, outside the diaspora can come in and do what the hell they want. How do we change How do we change that relationship? What do we do to break those relationships down and to break those type of relationships, destroy those kind of relationships, and build for a more positive relationship between people coming home and people already on the island? Or is it just a case of just being among people who are educated? Is it the level of education that's the problem?
Well, I think the educated people have to also, the educated ones back home, they got to be more, they are the ones to set the standard and accept that changes will occur, and those returnees are the ones with the new idea. But what they're doing is so tricky. They will send the children away. They might criticize you with your new idea, but they will send the children away and invite them back home to implement the change. So it's jealousy to some extent. It's a kind of jealousy, because a lot of changes I see take place in Grenada is the diasporas did it. It's diasporas, those what, like if you go home and you see a private hospital, it's Diaspora Grenadian. I think there is a lady who was born in New York. I think she is a doctor, Dr. McIntosh. I think she was born in New York, but Carriacou background, so she Yankee accent, but she had a private hospital in Carriacou, and she also works with the government too. I don't know if she do it for money or if she helping them. These are people what bring the changes, and government should set up some workshops or town hall meeting with diasporas who have idea to change Grenada. Because, for instance, okay, Maybe you didn't know that. Or maybe if you ask your parents. The first thing, the first time when I go to school, I had 5 years. I couldn't read, I couldn't write. You know, in our culture, when you had 5 years, they cut your hair. A boy child, and they send the child to school. When the killer go to a ship, everybody eat, and they send you to school. Nowadays, the young girls now don't care. They cut the child hair the next day he born. Most Grenadian my age tell you they know when they had the first haircut. Any male Grenadian, you know. At 5 years, and they send you to school. Okay. After the teacher help you, and you could make an A and a B and a C, they give you a slate. You know what is a slate? Okay. He made a slate, and he have a wooden frame on it. And the pencil, what you're going to write, it is slate. So you start to make A, B, C. And then, if you are a stubborn male child, and you keep breaking the slate, your parents buy you a cardboard slate. Because boys, you're more rebellious. Right? But you still write with it with that same slate pencil. Or whatever you write it. So you have a kind of slate, but it's a cardboard one. Right? So now in Grenada, over the world, children need a tablet to learn. Tablet. And then you hear a Grenadian back home saying, oh, the education system now is not good. People, they come in abroad with these new ideas and they want to change things. But when you ask them, who created the first education you get with the slate? They cannot answer. Because the British gave them the slate.
It's a British education.
Right, and now the British child is having a tablet. Or the American child is having a tablet. You see? These are the type of things what make the diasporas, the Grenadian, different from those back home. And in time of crisis still, those in the back home, when it's a crisis,
the diaspora help out.
They will even ask you.
The diaspora to come and help out. Yes.
But when you go home as a diaspora and you want to give them a new idea, they say, what happened to you? You come out in big wall. Big wall.
Yes.
You come in big wall and you want to come and change your way of living.
Or they call me a big shot. You come over here you come walking around like a big shot.
A big shot, yeah.
Just do my job. I'm getting called a big shot for doing my job. We don't need no big shots around here. I'm just doing my job and doing it well. And he said to me, oh, just be mediocre and fit in with everybody else. I said, so I should lower my levels. I should lower my levels and my standards of professionalism to make you feel comfortable. Get lost. Walked out.
Well, I'll give you our next one again. One time I was in Grenada and I used the word resume.
Resume.
Resume is a North American way of if you have to go get a job and you have this resume to show you work.
The CV, the resume, yes.
Ah, right. Well, it's a good thing you use it. The word you use, CV.
CV or resume. Yes.
Right. In Grenada, I use that word one day, resume.
That's a big word.
In some Grenadian educated people tell me where I get this word. The word is not that. And they stick in the one you use, CV.
CV, yes.
You say you come out in North America, that word's CV. Resume, where you going with that? I had to open a dictionary and show them, look, the word also means that. So this is all these things with the diasporas and the Grenadian back home. And I think perhaps instead of the Grenadian back home, I always want the Grenadian in the diaspora to help them in terms of assist them in medical, whatever. Mm-hmm. I think they should ask those a way to help them to develop a healthy democratic system too.
Possibly, potentially.
But yes. They never asked for that one. Help them to build democracy.
So let's use this just to close this one off, because I used this example to you before, where somebody from the diaspora comes home and wants to get on use the bus, the taxis, the buses, want to go in the shop, want to buy something, and there's always that one person that wants to add the extra $5 more, and try and be smart and slick and make a quick $5 here or quick $10 there or $100 there, because they don't know why. Why do we do this?
Well, again, it's based on the same perception. He's coming from Britain. His money. He got pounds in his pocket. So I'll try to see how I'm going to exploit him. I remember I went to La Poterie one time, because as a little boy I used to school in Tivoli. So there was a Saraka in La Poterie in Moonlight City. So I went down. But I didn't like Moonlight City Saraka. As I said, I told you in previous interview, River Sally is the real Saraka. So I went to the Moonlight City one. I didn't too like it. When I was coming up, a lady saw me and she said to me, I can't remember your name, but when I sit down and I visualize, I know I remember a lot of people I went to school with. And sometimes you come in my mind, but I can't remember your name, where you were. And I said to the lady, well, I living away, and the lady gave me a styrofoam cup with some soup, dry pea soup, and fresh beef. That was nice, man. I feel it on my chest. It was nice. And then when I reached higher up, I saw some women selling corn. And they recognized that I'm a visitor. And they tried to rob me with the sale of the corn.
How?
A corn was $5. Okay. It was $3. They tried to sell it to me for $5. And I said to them, don't try that with me. I bought corn yesterday, and the one you're selling me, you want to give me a $3 corn for $5. So the things that once you have British money, American money, or Canadian money.
But they're not very smart, because they've thought to themselves, they're trying to make a quick buck, but they can lose customers.
They don't understand that business sense.
They're not smart, because if you get caught, you get exposed. Like, okay, A, I'm not going to do business with you again, and B, I'm going to tell people about how you try to rip me off. So people who've got more money won't give.
No, they don't understand that part of the business where if you rob the person, they wouldn't come back again. So it all depends, is the perception that you have North American money. And then the government is allowing it by having that two-tier system where business, like in the city side around the airport area, in the service industry, so some business people charging you in American money, and perhaps the little man feel, okay, if a big guy could collect American money, I want it too. The guys with the 5-star hotel, you know, one of the big hotels in Grenada is owned by this guy who they own Win Mobile. That last big hotel they built in Grenadians. That man used to be the owner of Win, the Egyptian man. I think he sold it or something now.
You mean,
so
the guy from Silver Sands, that guy?
Yeah. So you see,
as the Prime Minister says, people in Grenada are too damn ungrateful. He says he's a millionaire, and he come to Grenada, he's a millionaire, but you Grenadians are too ungrateful.
So you see, the Prime Minister himself is selling the message that the foreigner is better than the local.
that causes people to put their backs up and causes envy and jealousy and resentment.
Yeah, because you're telling people you are citizen, but that's your level. You wait for who I bring come to do things for you.
But he would also, but then they would say, well, okay, there are people that have left Grenada and gone to better themselves and come back to Grenada. So he would say he's talking to the progressive Grenadian. The progressive Grenadian gets it.
No, you don't talk to them, because a lot of people, diasporas, want to go home to do business, but they're not getting concessions. Whilst perhaps those big business people are getting things to come in easier than the diaspora business people who trying. They're giving them the full taxes. So you got to blame the government, and then the little people are hustling. They're hustling. So the perception is there.
Maybe there needs to be an education on international relationships, and maybe people in Grenada or in the Caribbean in general, how they deal with people coming back from diaspora, and whether we're less of us fighting, but more of us working together. Because
well, I think program like yours is the best way to enlighten them, because young people are into social media.
Yes. And
they will gravitate to that new media revolution more than the older people. The old people are like a tree that grow and it can't bend again. You can't force, you can, if the tree grow and it didn't grow straight, you can straighten it again. So programs like that could help the younger people to change that perception, how they look at you.
Yeah.
And next thing again too, diasporas, they don't marry. The men don't marry. But if you come out in the diaspora, they ask you, how come you didn't marry? When you say, well, how come you didn't marry too? you see how I think? If you travel, you should be married.
Uh-huh.
But if they're home, they didn't marry. Oh, it's amazing how we think in the Caribbean, and I think programs like that could help. But there is also other barriers have to break to help for Grenada to change, because Grenada is a mountainous country. The island is very mountainous, and some people, what I observe with our people, we still have this we have artificial tribalism in Grenada. It's not like you say, okay, you're from a country where you belong to a group for hundreds of years, or you say, oh, I'm a Ashanti, I'm a Yoruba, I'm a Wolof. It's not like that. But you have geographical location, artificial tribalism in Grenada, where certain people in certain area think I'm privileged to hold certain positions. Perceptions. But it's going to change. It's changing. It's changing, but it's going to take time. Well, anyway, as we close in, when you get in a hole, make sure you prepare that. You don't want to end up in a nursing home.
I don't know. I think
you got to head back to Grenada.
I think the motherland may take me first. I get the feeling the motherland may take me first.
Well, in the motherland, they will look after you too.
I've had a taste of Grenada, but I want to see what the motherland has to say.
Yeah. But in the motherland, you will be looked after. It's similar to those guys who run back and come back home, the same thing. One day you should go to Grenada and do a document on all the returnees came back to Grenada and settle with younger women and spend the rest of their life. But I'm telling you, the sequence behind it, they are running away from the nursing home. And most of these men, they die happy.
I'm sure they do.
They die happy.
I'm sure they do.
And then what I observe too, I find, as I said earlier, those from Britain are a little bit more generous and more down to earth.
Right.
Than those from Canada and America.
Well,
I don't know if it's the Pong power, because the Pong is bigger.
I'll take your suggestions and I'll move back to Grenada.
Yeah. Perception. Yeah.
Mr. Hudson George, thank you so much for another excellent show. What's the topic going to be next week?
The next topic. You say you're doing one with the police, right?
Yes, we're doing the police tomorrow.
Okay, let me see. Come up with some things. Do some brainstorming and I'll see what we might touch.
Okay, that sounds good. Mr. Hudson George, as always, thank you so much for your show. We really appreciate you.
Okay, I look for a topic and then I'm going to contact you. What will be the next topic?
Okay. I tell you what, maybe we can leave it to people who are watching the show during the week. They can
and ask them.
Ask them
what we should discuss, because I will discuss different topics. Just throw them at me and then we go for it.
I think maybe, I tell you what would be a good conversation, the media in Grenada and how maybe it's changed, and the control and the blackouts that we're having in Grenada. That might be an idea.
Media?
Yes, media in Grenada.
Media in Grenada is not that good.
Let me talk about that then. Let me talk about media.
Okay. Well, when I go into media, I will expose artificial tribalism and media in Grenada.
Let me do that.
Media, as far as I observe presently, media in Grenada, the only time media was free in Grenada,
yes,
was when Leslie Pierre, the guy who owned the Grenadian Voice,
yes,
he went to jail in the revolution. He was a man who believed in media freedom. Right. And there is two other newspapers in Grenada. There is one called the New Today. He believes in media freedom too, but sometimes I find some
family is George Worm. I don't know which one he is.
Yeah, that's him.
Him and Mitchell were arguing. So I don't know.
He supports free media, but what I observe with him, sometimes he get caught up where people he faces a lot of libel suits.
Charges.
Yeah. Which I feel perhaps he should be more careful. But I think he believes in free media too. I believe that. And then you had the Informer newspaper, but Informer is more like Inquirer, people's business, street talk. But
street talk.
But George Worm,
yes,
believes in free media, because I wrote an article for his paper already, and if I write now, he will print it. If I write now, he'll print it.
Well, Mr. Cyril George Worm, I shall definitely be doing I would like to link with media in Grenada, and let's see if we can get some more information out. If not, build stronger relationship with other Caribbean outlets. That would be nice. More.
Grenadians have to break that cycle of dictatorship, and as long as we won't do it, we're going to be in trouble. Too many educated people have fixed mind. Well, and when you develop fixed mind, you become like you're walking around like it's a religion,
Mm-hmm.
And this is not good. You have to hear different side of stories. And when most of them with political mindset, if they have to be a host like you, they don't hold interview. They try to interrogate you, because they want you to give them a question they want to hear. So that's the interrogation. That's not interview.
Let's save it till next week. I think it's going to be a great topic.
Yeah, all right.
Mr. George,
Yeah.
Ed, thank you so much for a great show.